ESPN updated their rankings. Yahoo updated their rankings. So we're going to update our sleepers. Wake up, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I saw one of the babies, and the baby looked at me. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get started with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. So we're running towards the end of the preseason, the beginning of the NBA season. So we want to get stuff out as quick as possible. Just a quick disclaimer. I've done all this stuff on these sleepers and then I realized that the graphics something was misaligned. So I do apologize. It would take me forever to get it done and I wouldn't actually get the show out today. I want to get it out today because Yahoo's rankings updated today. I want to get the show out. Apologize. This is the first of a series of Yahoo and ESPN rankings adjustment shows, of sleepers, of busts, for categories and points. This is sleepers, undervalued players for category leagues on ESPN and Yahoo. There will be a points league one come, and there will be a bust one for categories, and there will be a bust one for points. That is all going to be coming over the next few days. So that's what we're touching on here. We're looking at ADPs. We're looking at ranking numbers. If someone is ranked 1 or 2 spots higher or below where I think they should be, that's not a sleeper. It's nothing. Who cares? I'm looking for bigger gaps. The gap becomes smaller the higher up the board we go. So if we're in round 1 and 2 and 3, the gap can narrow and it becomes more important. But overall, I'm not looking for 4 spots or 5 spots of differences between where I see a player and where these ranks / ADPs see a player. So let's kick it off. Again, apologies about the way that this graphic is going to look. I know it's going to annoy me. I hope it doesn't annoy you too much, as I've said too much. Let's look at Yahoo, and let's look at again, we're talking category league sleepers. Let's look at the top end players, some guys that stand out to me as being sizable differences based on where I value them, where the current either ADP or rank has them. These names are names that we've mentioned plenty of times on this show already. Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but I think LaMelo Ball still sitting outside the first 2 rounds at an ADP of 26 is just, at this point, it's too low. Ball, maybe he gets hurt. I don't know. You don't know. But I do know that he's significantly better than this on a per-game basis, easily. He's 23. He had high usage last season. He got steals. He gets assists. He rebounds. He hits threes. He hits free throws. He scores. He does so much. The team is going to play 6 possessions faster than what they did last season. That eliminates, I believe, the risk, which may not even be there. He is not entering the season with an injury. He is not entering the season with a degenerative problem. And that's all a big tick for me. Now, I don't know if he gets hurt. I don't know. But I do know that in round 3, and I've even taken him in round 2 of some drafts, but I love getting LaMelo Ball at that position where the ADP sits at number 26. By the way, we are also going to talk in this show about who moved up and who moved down the board the most on Yahoo. The next player, which is a guy that this ADP will change, and that is Karl-Anthony Towns, traded to the New York Knicks. I also, in one of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowls, took Karl-Anthony Towns much earlier than this ADP of 32. Towns did jump up the board in terms of the ranking adjustment, and ADP trails ranking adjustment usually. So you'll see over the next couple of weeks that Towns' ADP rises to get to this number. He averaged 22 and 8 last season. Jeez, I should have updated that to be the Knicks there. The blocks numbers were low, the rebound numbers were low, the field goals were low. I expect all of those to go up. In fact, the 33 minutes a night that he played could probably go up as well. You could say that Towns is a huge injury risk. Of course, you weren't having that discussion 3 years ago, but he's been hurt last couple of seasons. I don't believe that means it's going to recur, but injuries can happen at any point, and he is getting older. He's not super old. He's 29. But I still love getting him if you can get that ADP of 32. That it just does not work for me in terms of making sense. And the other one is one we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, which a lot of people push back on, which is why I think that this one is definitely going to hold, and that's Fred VanVleet with an ADP of 39. Every time I say, hey, I like Fred VanVleet in the second round, man, you're crazy. What a terrible take. You don't know what you're doing. And I point out that VanVleet was a second round player last season and really not much changed. People still don't buy it. And that's okay, because that means that we can get VanVleet at value with an ADP of 39. Now, it is true they drafted Reed Shepherd. I don't really think they'll be getting much out of Reed, to be honest. And Fred might play 36 minutes, 35 minutes, because he played 37 last season, and he's not a high scorer, and that is true. But in terms of where the value is in VanVleet, it's amazing to me at pick number 39. I really, really enjoy being able to get Freddles at that position. Let's look at the guys whose rankings or ADPs now sit outside the top 50 but inside the top 100, the middle rounds, which honestly is most of the time where you make your money in terms of acquiring value in a fantasy scenario. And I do really like Zion Williamson. Now, I understand why you wouldn't like Zion Williamson. History of injury, yes. Bad free throws, of course, doesn't hit many threes, that's okay. But I want to focus on strengths. That's what I like to do. Yeah, you got to take into consideration weaknesses. But field goal percentage is going to be high. Usage is going to be high. Scoring is going to be high. Assists are going to be above average. Rebounds are solid dish. He upped his steals over the final 40 or 50 games of last season, and that varies quite a bit. I like Zion ahead of that spot. 51 ADP, 50 ranking, even in category leagues. I love Immanuel Quickley higher than an ADP of 56. I don't think he's quite as good as the run that he had without Barnesy last season, but I do think that he's probably a top 50 player, and that gives me really nice value to be able to get him in that spot. Again, ADP 56, we're talking round 5 in a lot of cases, and I think that's really strong to be able to get Quickers there. What did he average? 17, 4, and 5 last season with 0.7 steals, 43 from the field. That could go up, might not though. But 24 usage in 29 minutes, I expect both of those numbers for Quickley to rise this season, and the assist numbers to push to 6 minimum, maybe 7. And that is something I love. I just finished doing the Nets preview today, and Cam Thomas was on my list as an undervalued player, and he remains there. Thomas's rank is 67 with an ADP of 75, and yeah, we know there's going to be field goal percentage issues, and you have to understand that when you go to draft him. Rankings should not be the be-all and end-all of anything, and they're not for most people, but you could say, well, he'll kill my field goals, but then 2/3 of people or a third of people draft him. We go, I don't care about that. So ranking him down at that area where a lot of people don't want him, but a big chunk do, I think that provides value for you. But understanding context and understanding projections and understanding the stats that someone brings versus an all-encompassing value/ranking number, which in the end, let's be honest, doesn't mean anything. If someone's ranked 100th, but for the way it works on your team and providing those needs, he's like a 40th best player, then that's what's important. That is what is important. And I think that Thomas in that area gives you value as much as I don't like Cam Thomas as a player. I love it there. Brad Beal at 81. Injuries are a risk, and a lot of these guys are pushed down because of risks, and that's okay, but there are players who don't get pushed down for risks, which is why I'm okay with taking some of these players, because there are guys who have risks associated with them who don't really get the hit as much. Beal does get the hit. Beal was a top 50 player the second half of last season when the Suns were fully healthy. He shot the ball really well, so that could come down, but he averaged 5 assists and 18 points, and maybe the assists come down, but maybe Budenholzer just gets him taking more threes, and 18 points becomes 20 points with 2.8 threes. Maybe. I still feel pretty good that he could shoot. Yeah, there is risk with the minutes and the usage, but unlike Durant, he wasn't playing 37 minutes a night. He was playing 33. So that falls right within the Budenholzer wheelhouse. So he doesn't have as much to lose in terms of top-end production that those other guys do. Anthony Simons, we know why he's down at 89, but on a per-minute basis, on a per-game basis maybe more accurately, Simons at 89 is an easy win. A 25-point scorer with 5 assists? Yeah, putrid defense, I know that. Unbelievable free throws, high-volume threes, good scoring, good assists. It's hard to find 20-point scorers. And he provides it almost at 100. And then Jakob Poeltl, the man who told us that the Blazers, maybe he can tell us the Blazers as well, but the Raptors aren't trying to win games, and there'll be plenty of games where they don't want to win. That's cool. He doesn't really have anyone that's a developmental guy that's pushing for his minutes. It's Kelly Olynyk, not like that Shamshi or Fernando or Mobo are going to be in there as real guys that have to take away from Jakob. So I think Jakob's defense enables some of those other developmental areas and those other players to fit into position better, and that'll help them. And I think Jakob is really, really strong with an ADP sitting there at number 95. We've got more sleepers on Yahoo to get to, as well as the changes to their board in a sec. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So, in the middle of a game, you're watching it, you get a hunch, something's happening. You get a trend going, ooh, what's going on there? You open up the app, you can check where the bets are on FanDuel. You have a look at all the different options, in-game betting. And in that same spot, they've got the stats. They're right there in front of you. They're updating live. They've got the play-by-play. That's updating live as well. Check all of that stuff, all on that same page where you place your bets. And for new customers on FanDuel, when you go in and place a $5 bet, it is easy because what you get is $200 in bonus bets back guaranteed. So head across to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook right now, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, we are here looking at sleepers on the updated Yahoo and ESPN rankings lists. So let's go ahead and continue our trek through all of that. Got 3 more guys who are top 100 players that I think are just sitting in the wrong spot. And one of those is Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole had an ADP or has an ADP of 97. He's been adjusted to rank of 79, but we also came out with Brian Keefe today. And this is something we didn't know. And Brian Keefe said, Jordan Poole is our starting point guard. There you go. Malcolm Brogdon is not the starting point guard. Bub Carrington is not the starting point guard. Jordan Poole is the starting point guard, who, as a starting point guard last season, averaged about 20 points a game and 6 assists. Cool. And an ADP of 97. Yeah, like he'll have bad field goals, but were his field goals atrocious? Was he shooting 38%? No. He's an elite free throw guy. He hits threes, he scores, he gets assists. He only played like 29, 30 minutes a game. What if he gets 33? But even as a starting point guard, that is everything that we need. That is what you want. That is what he needs to do. I love getting Jordan Poole at that late spot. That's amazing to me. Got OG Anunoby, who's also, like Poole, got an ADP of 97. And the Knicks are thin as. There is nobody on that team. That's before someone takes me out of context and doesn't understand anything I say, which social media, that would never happen. People always understand everything you say and every part of context. So I don't know what I'm talking about. The Knicks have a unbelievably strong top 5. And their depth, it doesn't exist. There's nobody there. You're relying upon Landry Shamet, Pacome Daddier, Precious Achiuwa, Deuce McBride, second-round rookie legend Tyler Kolek, the car salesman. He's got a Kia Sorrento out the back that you just want you to have a look at. Great deal. End-of-year run-out. They got no one. That means that these guys are going to do a lot. Now, OG could break down at any point, but 97 is like, as Yahoo always tries to do, thread the needle between points and categories. And in categories, like it's an amazing value for OG Anunoby. He might not score a lot, but there's just not that many players on this team. And they can still, you've got to feel out their roster. Their roster's weird. It's all over the place. We know this. They've got a top end is strong. And you can say, well, he won't touch the ball much in that starting lineup. He's still the fourth guy. But despite Tom Thibodeau's wishes, the starting lineup can't play all 48 minutes. So he's going to be on the court with Precious Achiuwa, Tyler Kolek, maybe, Deuce McBride, Campaign, Landry Shamet, spuds. And therefore, we'll get a little bit extra of OG in those situations. The last one to take a look at in the top 100 on Yahoo is Ivica Zubac, who he has jumped up in the rankings a little bit. I don't think it's enough. Zubac's ADP is 100 with a rank of 99. I think he's a very comfortable top 80-ish player. I think that he played 26 minutes a night last season. I will be stunned if Zubac plays 26 minutes only. He should be getting significantly more than that. He averaged 12 and 9 with 1.2 blocks on good field goals and solid enough free throws. There's no Kawhi. Mo Bamba is his backup. There's no Paul George. Limited ability to play small as much as they would want. So even if he doesn't play 32, and I don't think he will, but 28, 29 is an upgrade on last season, that's still, even though it's adjusted, that is still really, really good value for the big man, Ivica Zubac. And now I just want to cover some guys who are available between 100 and like 120-ish. I don't want to go too far down the list. We did a lot of late round stuff yesterday in terms of guys outside the top 120. But there's some other guys that I think have got some value still. Walker Kessler has an ADP of 101 with a rank of 106. I don't know if he's going to be starting, but what I know is if he plays 23 minutes a night, he's probably in this area. And anything more than that is a real bonus. Draymond Green has an ADP of 103. And yeah, he's not going to score well. But like I said earlier about Cam Thomas and the field goals, you might not want scoring. So what Draymond brings He's way more valuable than this. And you could look at Draymond's numbers. Someone argued this with me yesterday or maybe the day before, they said about Draymond and they said, man, bro was suspended for a third of the season. Okay, yeah, I know. Do you think he's going to be suspended again for the third of the season? Because that would be your rationale for not looking at Draymond higher than this. And I just don't think that third of the season suspensions are a replicable event. Maybe he is. Maybe he's obviously a loose cannon. We know this. So he's more at risk for a suspension than almost any other player. But to think that he would be missing as much time as last season, I just don't think that's a sound strategy going in. Alex Caruso has an ADP of 105 and another one of those perfect examples of points versus categories. Caruso in points leagues is not worth this spot, but we're talking category league and category league sleepers. So his ability to bring blocks and steals with some assists and hit some threes, play a pretty sizable role, not super crazy, and be on the right team with the right value makes a lot of sense for me in that area. Caruso there is always a risk of a player on a new team, where that all fits and how it works, but I'm good with Caruso there. And three more names I just want to get off here. Dan Gafford is 111, and while I think Lively will start over him, 111 gives you so much room for movement on Gafford that it's almost impossible to ignore that. Keontae George sits with an ADP of 118 and a ranking of 120. Someone said to me about George, I had him on the late round flyers. I go, no way you can get him in a late round flyer. And I go, well, you can because his ADP, it was 121 yesterday and it's moved up to 118 or whatever it is. That suggests that some people do not believe in him inside the top 10 rounds. Some do, and they're the smart people. They're the smart people who take that chance on him there. But others don't. So this is all about, it's never about, my God, I have to have Keontae George. It's never about that. It's about, this looks like value. Maybe we should have a look at this if it gets to the right spot. And when it does, then you love it. I think there's a real chance of top 100 stuff from Keontae this season. But if someone says, well, I've got to have him, I'll get him at 80, you go, good luck, enjoy your season, I'm all for that. Do what you need to do. But it's not for me. It's all about the right spot, the right timing, not must-haves, acquiring the value. The last one is Rowan Barrett Jr. One of my favorite players, RJ, is ranked at 117. Barrett was really much improved in Toronto. He did the thing that I want players to do. Look at yourself and go, what am I good at? What am I bad at? Let's do the good things if the bad things aren't going to improve. And he did those things, and his value went through the roof. He hit field goals. Yeah, his free throws went in the toilet, but his scoring was strong, 20-point per game guy, 5.5, 3.5 rebounds and assists with great field goals. Took shots at the rim. They went in. Amazing. Literally can't ask for more. 20-point per game scorer late in drafts. Very, very hard to be able to pull off. I want to show you the best 6 or the top 6 movers in a positive direction and the Yahoo update rankings and the top 6 fallers. I'll just give you an idea of what's going on because I talked the other day on the Bull Show about why is Ayo Dosunmu ranked at 119? Feels a little high. Feels a little high with all those guards there. Well, now he is down a massive drop to 173, which that actually now makes him a value play. Makes him a guy who can get in round 13 and be okay with it. Mitchell Robinson, with his injury news, moved from 116 to 157. I'm not even touching him at 150. Wouldn't draft him in 12-team leagues. Brook Lopez, that is a gigantic drop. I hated Lopez at 73. I love him at 107. That's really good value. 73 was just too high. 107, unbelievable. That's a big drop, man. DeAnthony Melton, I didn't love it. There was too much squish there in the minutes, and they on Yahoo have moved him to an undraftable 12-team league play, which I do get. Still a nice late round flyer, but a big fall from 138 to 170. Dennis Schroeder moved from 121 to 152, putting him almost into the undraftable basket. Also, I agree with that. He's fine. He's low upside. He's boring. He may not start. And then one of the other big fallers was one that was very clearly wrong. Clint Capella at number 74. He moved down to 103, and 103 is fine. I'm also not certain that even remains like good value, though. I really worry about where Clint's value is going to lie this season. In terms of the guys that jumped way up the board, well, we got news from Mike Brown that Keon Ellis is going to come in as a starter. So his numbers went super high. It went from 294 to 145. And what he brings is defensive stats. We know this. He's nothing more than a late round pick, but 294 to 145 is a sizable jump. The big fella, the prestige penis, grade A Dick, is probably starting in Toronto. Brucey Brown is out. So Dick went from 316 to 185. I don't think that's far enough. I'd put him around 160 probably. But that's fine. That's more in line now. Paul Washington went from 193, which never made sense. Now PJ is at 122, which is actually the perfect spot. Benny Simmons Went from 199 to 154. We just did the Nets and talked about Simmons as a value pick towards the last rounds. This is more in line with that. I still think there's more value to squeeze out of it, though. And then Colin Sexton, someone I really liked as a value play, has jumped a number where that is no value anymore. He was at 118 and now he's 76. And 76, like that, kudos to you, Yahoo. I think 76 is like bang on of the value of him. But it also means that there's no value in picking him there. So if people are looking at the ADP, which will take time to catch up, and you get him at 100, that's still pretty good. But if people are jumping to 76, then we just leave them and let them have it. And the other one there is Jeremy Sohan, who moved from undraftable in 12s at 185 to 146. And I still think there's maybe 20 spots more or so of value for Sohan there as the starting power forward, who I just think he's just being slightly slept on. Slightly. Other big jumps, Andy Wiggins was 35 spots. Alex Sarr was 34 spots. Asar Thompson was 30. And on the improvement side, OG jumped up 28. Bogdan Bogdanovic up 30. Klay Thompson up 24. Zach Edey up 22. My man Carlo Makovic up 22 as well. Scooter Henderson up 20. Pajemski up 21. There's some big jumps. And in terms of other guys that fell, who else fell down the board apart from those top 6 that we mentioned there? Vincey Williams moved down 29. Shaden Sharp 27. Who else? Taylor Horton-Tucker apparently is ranked for some reason. Mark Williams went down 21. Kawhi went down 18 to 48. That's a big drop. Tyus Jones went down 17. And old mate Rowan Barrett went down 16 spots. And CJ McCollum went down 15. Putting things more in line with the way that I was seeing them for a lot of those ones. If we flip it now to... we'll flip it in a sec, actually. Because you got to take a breath when you're considering ESPN's rankings. There's some bad ones. We know that. Their rankings don't make a lot of sense a lot of the time. So let's go through the top 50 players that I think remain or have value with the updates in the category rankings and their ADPs. A lot of the names are the same as on the Yahoo side of things. LaMelo Ball has an ADP of 33 on ESPN. That's amazing value. I love that one. Kyrie's got an ADP of 35, as does Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, Towns' one will come in. But Kyrie, I know the 2-game week is there, but 35 is amazing to me to be able to get Kyrie at that spot. I would snap that up every day of the week. I wouldn't take him in the top 20, but at that spot, I love it. Paul George at number 43. What am I missing here? Paul George is still really good. Are they just banking in an idea that he's going to get hurt? Because that almost remains the best value on the entire board. Alperen Şengün is ranked at 39. I actually think Şengün should be better than that. Not by a huge amount, but we're talking pointy-end stuff here. I think he's better than that. I would go higher. I would go to 30. I'd even consider him like 27 at times. And the Bronco Jalen Williams just has not come in. Now, on Yahoo, he did come in. Came into a spot where it's about right, which turns out you got no value. But with the Broncos sitting at number 49, Jalen Williams, I fail to see how you don't win on that. Remember last season, his steals actually over the course of the season were down. In the end, he ended with 1.1 steals. We'll see what happens if he does take more threes and more usage. Does that drop his field goals? Yeah, probably. He was at 54 last season. But he could easily jump in assists. He could jump in usage. He could be a 20-point-per-game scorer. 49 doesn't ring true to me as anything that would resemble sense. Shout out to ESPN. What about the guys in the 50 to 100 range on ESPN? Because there's still quite a few guys there. Jaren Jackson with an ADP of 55. We look at what Jaren did last season, and you have to understand why. Why did his field goals drop? Why did his blocks drop? And will they come back up? And the answer is probably yes. I doubt that there's any sort of reaction to the fact that he strained his hammy. I think he's fine. It looks like it's fine. Grade 1. He'll be ready for opening night. Fingers crossed. All ready to go. And we don't move him in our draft boards because of that. Jim Butler's one that really doesn't add up to me. As much as I am down on Jim, an ADP of 60 and a rank of 81 is nonsense. You can buy into the Jimmy Butler's serious this season, the Jimmy Butler contract year narrative if you want. I don't, but I also don't care because 81 is insane. Butler played 34 minutes a game last season. He's old. He's going to miss time. 21, 5 and 5, 1.3 steals, which is a very low number for Jim. Great numbers from the line, great numbers from the field. Yes, he does get a lot of free throws, which are all going to come down league-wide, I believe, for the whole season. But 81 is just... It's indefensible to me. You can't... And even me, who's not a big Jim guy, would easily take him there. Fred VanVleet appears on this list again. ADP of 63. It was in the 90s, but now we're in the 60s. Still, that's 30 spots of value at least, minimum. rank of 44. Jalen Johnson, who had an ADP or a rank in the 120s, that rank has come in, but his ADP has not fully adjusted. It's at 66, still insane value. Evan Mobley, the koala, has a rank of 60 with an ADP of 69. Giggity. Top 40 maybe for him, probably. Third round, definitely possible, and you can easily get a steal on him. And the same with Immanuel Quickley, who's got an ADP of 70 with a rank of 58 for ESPN category leagues. I think he's a very, very comfortable top 50 player. And seems pretty easy to be able to get him there, doesn't it? Some more 50 to 100 players, where you really clean up. Nick Claxton has a rank. It's a rank now, an ADP of 73. Points leagues influences for sure. And he disappointed with some of his field goal percentage last season, but that remains good value. So does Jarrett Allen with a 76 ADP and a rank of 84. Like, what has changed for Allen to make him fall down that far? He was just so much better than that last season, and that almost is the most secure, easy value win that's there. Cam Thomas with an ADP of 76 and a rank of 92. I've talked about Thomas already. At 92, that's complete safety. You're not missing anything there. That's unbelievable good value. And so is Darius Garland at 77. Yeah, he had his struggles last season. He's still better than 77. So what are we doing here? He could, best case, get top 45. You're talking round 6, round 7. Just getting maybe 20 spots of value without even trying. I like Bradley Beal. ADP of 91. Again, you are taking away so much risk by letting him fall to this spot. Especially when he finished out last season so strong with a new coach who should open things up offensively. And then we still haven't adjusted on ESPN to Toby Harris, who last season was like a top 75 player. He does have a weird across-the-board game that's boring, but a rank of 108 for Toby in category leagues, which on ESPN is a bench player in their standard formats, which is not real. An ADP of 97 is crazy. They did not pay him $50 million to play 25 minutes a night. I'm very confident in that part. So yeah, like I would love getting the thick hogsman there in that position. I talked, probably coming out after this, but with Thunder Dan Palio about Jalen Duren, and we talked about what if the Pistons play a little bit more of Isaiah Stewart? Because Stewart came out and said, I can't wait to play the 5 this season. I'm a 5. And we're okay, they're going to go from 31 minutes of Stewart to 17? I don't know. So maybe Duren's only playing 25 minutes. That is a risk. So I look at the ADP of 98 for Duren at a rank of 113 and go, I get why you might be skeptical of last season, but that is a big drop, man. And I don't think you should have that level of skepticism. Zion's ranked 68, and I talked about him already. That's in a head-to-head league. You play to the strengths. He's got unbelievable strengths, and it works out well, I think. Pascal Siakam's not usually someone that I'm going to cape for, but his points and rebounds and assists are always strong. He's a good field goal percentage player. He's not a good free throw player, but 75 is pushing way too low. If you're getting him in the 20s, which sometimes happens, sometimes sites put him there and you go, no way, I'm not touching that. But he's ranked 75 for category league, so I'm all about that for Siakam. Josh Giddey has a rank of 94. He played 25 minutes a game last season. Yeah, like Lonzo's there and Kobe's there and Levine is there. Desumu's there. But I don't think you can parade around Giddey as the key piece that you got in the offseason, the key part of not getting a draft pick back in the Alex Caruso trade and then play him like a reserve. I don't think you can do that. He actually became a good free throw shooter somehow last season. It's a little worrying that he's entering camp with that ankle problem, but should be okay. At 94, free money. Speaking of free money, yes, DeMar DeRozan might cop a hit in Sacramento. Easily. He could very easily suffer a reduction in production. And I did not mean for that to sound like a Dr. Seuss book. He could easily do it. But what are we doing? Ranking him at number 98. Yeah, the usage and the ball handling might fall from 26 usage last season where he averaged 24, 4, and 5.3. He might not hit 85 from the line, although I'd bank on him doing it. He's not a threes guy, even though he hit 0.9 per game. That is just an oversight number that is bonkers. I can't. I don't get it. I don't understand where we're coming from. Got a few guys outside the top 100 on ESPN as well. 6 more names to go through. Yusuf Nurkic sits at 104. I'm really confident or really excited to see what Budenholzer can bring for Nurk. Nurk was actually better than you think last season. He's had some health problems and he's a bad finisher around the rim. That's all true. But he can shoot a little bit. He can block shots. He grabs rebounds. He passes. 104, easy money. Isaiah Hartenstein at 107. I'm happy getting him in the 60s or 70s, to be honest, in the category league. So if I'm getting him there, I love that. Josh Hart will get adjusted, I'm guessing. 115 ADP, rank of 100. There was a point where Josh was ranked in the 80s on ESPN for category leagues, which made no sense because they hadn't pulled off a trade. But he is going to have to start. They have no depth. He is going to play 30-plus minutes easily. And that is meaning that he gets back to big numbers, or big enough numbers to justify that being a value pick. John Kuminga's ranked at 137. Remember, on default leagues that suggest do not draft John Kuminga, and I would suggest ignore that advice and draft him. We heard that Steve Kerr said that he's definitely playing Draymond Green as a starter. Doesn't know what position at, and I don't know whether Kuminga's going to start or not. I would think they'd be dumb not to, but who knows? But that's silly, isn't it? And speaking of silly, Jordan Poole, 122 is his ranking. His ADP is 118. The freest money of all free monies. If you play in an ESPN league and you do not draft Jordan Poole, even if you wanted to go 20 spots ahead of this, you still might get 40 spots of value. I said earlier that there was, who was it that I said was the easiest win on the board? This is the easiest win on the board. I believe that is unbelievably easy. I could also say the same for Jakob Poeltl, with a ADP of 121 and a ranking of 99 on ESPN for category leagues. It's just pretty straightforward stuff that he's like a 70-ish guy and getting drafted in the 120s. You take that every day of the week. And that's it. Update to the Yahoo rankings, updated Yahoo sleepers, updated ESPN sleepers. We are going to do points league sleepers, category league busts, and points league busts coming up over the next couple of days. Guys, if you like this and you want to see more, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. We're at Operation 100K. Let's hope we get there. Hopefully. Subscribe and follow and all that stuff. And don't forget to check out the links for the FBI World Cup down below in the description. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.